Yautja versus Jack the Ripper, the historical clash between two brutal human murderers in the 1800s dark streets of London. We have had predators invading the world of people like Batman, Judge Dredd, and even Terminator, but one of those apex hunters landed in Victorian-era London, colliding with the world of Sherlock Holmes. The two-issue comic series titled Predator Nemesis revolves around an ex-army man named Edward Soames, who served in Her Majesty Queen Victoria's Imperial Army. However, after being haunted by the ghost of a nasty incident that took place 15 years ago, Soames comes to London, but it seems that his demons from the past have followed him into the present. With likable characters such as Soames and several Arthur Conan Doyle creations like Mycroft Holmes, Diogenes Club, and Lestrade, Aliens Hunter is a must-read for all Predator fans. In this video, we will explore the two issues of the comic, so let's go ahead and get into it. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request from you. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a very small click for you, but for us, it means a whole heck of a lot. So thank you, and let's get started. The Rakshasa from Bengal. Captain Soames served as a soldier of Her Majesty Queen Victoria's Imperial Army back in the 1880s. Stationed in the province of Bengal, Soames and his superior saw that a few locals had come to their garrison asking for help. Soames could speak the local language and went to speak to the locals to take stock of the situation. The villagers tell him that a man-eating tiger is ravaging their village. Soames' superior, Cromer, did not believe the story because for a long time there had been no reports of a man-eater in that area. However, Soames showed Cromer the proof. Two men had been brutally killed, and the locals had brought the corpses of these men to show the colonizers. Clearly, the locals wanted help from the British in eliminating this menace. Cromer was quick to agree to a tiger hunt. However, Soames gets approached by the local holy man, who warns him about going into the jungle, because it was no tiger killing the locals, but a man-eating demon from Hindu mythology, a demon called Rakshasa. But Cromer was excited about his new adventure. Additionally, he wanted to bring back a trophy from the hunt. A demon indeed. Now there's a trophy head that would make a fine addition to the wall of the officer's mess. Little did he know that the Predator is the one to take trophies. Furthermore, it was almost the beginning of the monsoon season, or the rainy season, in Bengal. And if there's one thing that we know about predators, these guys love hot weather. So as soon as the monsoon season would set in, the hunting season would be over. Interestingly, in the crossover comics of Judge Dredd and the Predators, as soon as it rains in Mega City 1, the Predators call for a truce and leave the place. Anyways, let's come back to Bengal. Cromer had difficulty gathering the local guides to accompany the hunting party into the dense jungles of Bengal. Soames writes in his journal, "Perhaps the ones that refused to come with us already knew what was waiting for us out there in the jungle." He sensed that the locals had been unusually quiet and vigilant, until one of them shouted, "Rakshasa! Rakshasa!" The local guides fled the place and the British were left to fend for themselves. Soames noticed a strange creature on the top of one of the trees and warned Cromer, but he was too late. The Predator had got to Cromer. Soon, the Predator was killing British men left, right, and center. The sheer speed and savagery of the Predator was something that Soames had never witnessed in his life before. That day, he had lost many colleagues, but the one death that afflicted him most was that of a man named Maris, someone with whom Soames had spent his childhood. When Maris was in the Predator's clutches, Soames had no option but to escape, for there's a difference between bravery and stupidity. Yet Soames was always haunted by the events that unfolded that day. He writes, "I spent the next 15 years trying to atone for my failure to save a friend." He would go on to fight bravely for his country. Soames participated in several wars and campaigns and won several medals, but nothing was enough to repay the debt. Unable to forget his actions in the province of Bengal, Soames decided to quit the army and finally returned to London. The Rakshasa of London. It was now 1896 and Captain Edward Soames was back in London. He was finding life difficult in London. For starters, the Industrial Revolution had struck the center of the British Empire, and the city was filled with pollution, a byproduct of industrial growth. Also, the pension he was receiving for years of his service was just not enough to cut it or survive in the big city. Soames was looking for jobs, he just wasn't getting any. However, his luck would turn around when he received a telegram, a mysterious summon that made him both anxious and curious. He had been summoned by the Diogenes Club. Fans of Sherlock Holmes usually know that the Diogenes Club was basically a group of influential and intellectual people of Britain who acted closely with the British Secret Service to save Britain from internal and external threats. Interestingly, Sherlock's indulgent elder brother, Mycroft, was the club's founder. Soames had been summoned by the club so that he could be offered a job to catch a notorious serial killer whom the tabloids called the Spring-Heeled Jack. Spring-Heeled Jack was an urban legend, but Soames notes, I believe some of the more lurid accounts claim that the Ripper himself has returned to his old haunts. Jack the Ripper was a notorious and unidentified serial killer who killed female prostitutes who lived and worked in the slums of East London and Whitechapel. The Ripper was active in London between 1888 and 1891. Mycroft rubbishes the claims and says, no sir, the killer currently stalking our city is something far deadlier than a mere prostitute-hating madman. However, Soames still does not understand why he had been summoned by the club. Ultimately, Mycroft tells him, we wish you to track down and deal with this by any means necessary. You have carte blanche, and the authority of both this committee and the Britannic Majesty herself is behind you. Soames replies, gladly, sir, but I don't pretend to understand affairs of the state. But if the security of the empire is at stake, then you leave me little choice. Soon, there's another murder in Whitechapel, and Soames rushes to the scene of the crime. What he sees blows his mind. It was like he had already anticipated who the murderer was. The mutilated bodies, flayed men hanging from ceilings, were reminiscent of his sorry adventure in Bengal. The murder case was being looked after by Inspector Lestrade, another major character from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's world. He tells Soames that there was only one witness, a young Indian lad who was half scared to death and kept repeating the word Rakshasa. Soames realizes that although his deadly experience in the jungles of Bengal had been hushed, the Diogenes Club knew the secret. He writes in his journal, now I know why the members of the Diogenes Club sought me out for their commission. But Soames was prepared to fight the predator that had killed his colleagues and friends. The demons of his past had pursued him into the present, but this time he was prepared and more resolute. He was ready to face his Rakshasa. Oriental tricks versus the predator. Not long after, Sergeant Thackeray was leading Soames through a tunnel to meet Lestrade. Just as Soames reaches his destination, he sees a giant object. He and the other British could not understand that they were actually seeing a predator mothership. However, you can't blame them. I mean, they never had marvelous videos to help them out with the Predator comics, nor did they ever have the luxury of watching any of the Predator movies. Having said that, a few members of the Royal Society or the UK's National Academy of Science believed that the object was some kind of a flying craft, but there was no one that was sure. But Lestrade claimed that the craft had no wings and hence could not fly. This in and of itself kind of explains why he was a cop and not a scientist. In his learned opinion, the object that they found was a submersible vessel that a foreign agent had smuggled to London so that the Empire could be destabilized by spreading terror in the capital. But as we know, Soames was an army man and he knew how to deal with this. He listened to Lestrade's bullshit for some time until Soames discovered several skulls placed as trophies. Furthermore, when Lestrade revealed how he wanted to blow up the ship so that he and his men could enter it, Soames almost completely lost it before saying, I am invoking the authority of the Diogenes Club, and as of now, this investigation is under my control as their appointed guest. Lestrade had no choice at that point but to just give up. Lestrade then offered to help Soames in his endeavors, but Soames refused, claiming that he desired to resolve this issue alone. Right after leaving the tunnel, Soames headed to the gun store and purchased several guns, including a powerful rifle that was strong enough to bring down a charging elephant. After this, Soames returned to the Predator's mothership and waited patiently for it to arrive. He knew that the Predator was returning only to add trophies to its wall of fame, and his guess was right. The Predator arrived soon after, and Soames fired at it with his elephant gun. The impact blasted a large hole in the predator's shoulder. It knew better than attacking Soames and retreated into the Thames. But Soames was not going to quit this time and followed the predator. But the predator escaped again, firing at Soames. On his way out, Soames found the corpse of Thackeray left impaled by the predator's combi stick. Aggravated that someone else had lost their life because of his own inefficiency, Soames thought he was a fool enough to believe that the hunter would become the hunted. However, the predator attacked Soames from behind. He remembered an old trick that he had picked up from the hill fights in Afghanistan's Khyber region. Called the Surgeon's Nightmare, the trick involved scoring the points of the bullets to inflict wounds that no surgeon could heal. He fired several shots into the predator and ran off, but he was hard at luring the predator into a trap. Back in India, he had learned a trick that the locals employed to hunt tigers. One of them would serve as the human bait and lead the beast through the trail and into a pit. However, one misstep, one wrong move, and the game was over for the hunter. Soames was doing the same, and he lured the predator into the region that had powerful quicksand. The plan worked, and the predator fell into the mud pool. In a last-ditch attempt, the predator was holding on to the railing, but Soames slashed its hand, letting it sink. The predator did not rise from the quicksand and presumably died. Contrary to this, when Amber Midthunder's character from the 2022 film Prey tricks the predator into a similar pool of mud, the predator actually rises again. But anyways, as for the mothership, Mycroft and his club decided to drown it in the sea because they did not want to incur the wrath of the predators. On the other hand, Soames left his journal at his home and went to London, probably in search of more predators to kill. Later, Soames went on to become a prolific predator hunter and became a millionaire by selling predator technology. He had a granddaughter named Jaya who wished to atone for his father's mistakes. Jaya's story is a thrilling one from the comics titled Predator Hunters. Let us know in the comments below if you want us to explore this one as well. And if you liked our content, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And in the meantime, have a good one and be safe, and we shall see you next time. Thank you, everyone.